Welcome to the Executive and the Republic, where we dive into the lives of America's early presidents and the legacies they left behind. Today, we're talking about James Madison, the fourth President of the United States. Often called the Father of the Constitution, Madison had a profound influence on how the country was shaped. But his presidency was far from smooth sailing, as it was defined by war, political conflict, and decisions that shaped the future of the nation. Let's get into it. James Madison was a man of ideas, a brilliant thinker, and a firm believer in the principles of democracy. Born in Virginia in 1751, Madison was one of the key architects of the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. If you've ever heard the phrase checks and balances, you can thank Madison for that. He believed in creating a system of government that could both govern and protect individual freedoms at the same time. But how did this political mastermind handle the pressures of the presidency? By 1809, when Madison became president, the United States was still a relatively young nation, facing enormous challenges at home and abroad. Europe was in the midst of the Napoleonic Wars, and American trade was caught in the crossfire. British and French forces were interfering with American ships, seizing cargo, and forcing American sailors into their navies. This situation had been simmering during the presidencies of Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, but it would come to a head during Madison's time in office. One of Madison's first major decisions as president was how to respond to these international conflicts. With diplomacy failing and tensions rising, Madison eventually made a fateful decision. He asked Congress to declare war on Britain in 1812, and so began the War of 1812, a war that many Americans weren't exactly prepared for. The United States didn't have a strong army or navy, and the country was deeply divided over whether war was the right choice. Many in the Northeast, where trade with Britain was crucial, opposed the conflict. But Madison, believing that America's sovereignty was at stake, pushed forward. At first, things didn't go well. The U.S. suffered a series of defeats, and in 1814, the unthinkable happened. British forces marched into Washington, D.C., and set the White House and the Capitol on fire. It was a low point for the country and for Madison's presidency. But Madison didn't give up. As the war dragged on, the tide slowly began to turn. American forces achieved a major victory at the Battle of New Orleans, led by General Andrew Jackson, which helped restore morale. Though the battle took place after peace talks had already begun, it became a symbol of American resilience and strength. In 1814, the United States and Britain signed the Treaty of Ghent, ending the War of 1812. While the treaty didn't resolve all of the issues that had led to the war, like the British practice of impressment, it did restore the status quo and marked the beginning of a new era of peace between the two nations. For Madison, the war was both a test of his leadership and a turning point for the young republic. Beyond the war, Madison's presidency also had a significant impact on the country's economic future. After the war, Madison embraced a more nationalistic vision, calling for the creation of a stronger national infrastructure, including roads and canals, to unite the country. He also supported the establishment of the Second Bank of the United States, recognizing the need for a stable currency and financial system. These policies, though somewhat different from Madison's earlier beliefs in limited government, reflected his adaptability and willingness to grow as a leader. Madison left office in 1817, retiring to his estate, Montpelier, in Virginia. Though he never sought the spotlight, his influence on the country's founding documents and his role in guiding the nation through the War of 1812 would be felt for generations. He and his wife, Dolly Madison, became symbols of the nation's early resilience, with Dolly famously saving a portrait of George Washington from the White House before it was burned. James Madison was not a fiery leader or a grand orator like some of his contemporaries, but he was a steady, principled thinker whose contributions to American democracy were profound. From drafting the Constitution to leading the country through one of its earliest wars, Madison's legacy endures as one of the key figures who helped secure the survival and growth of the Republic. And that's the story of James Madison, a quiet, brilliant leader who guided America through turbulent times. If you enjoyed this episode of The Executive and the Republic, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on more stories of the early presidents. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.